I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm here to wrap up January 2024 with you. Did y'all like my little introduction to myself? I think I'm funny. Hello, everyone, and despite what it may seem to you and I, we have already reached the end of January 2024. If you're like me and you're really bad with time, it feels like January started 2 days ago. But based on the amount of reading I did in January, it did not. So, if you are one of my little regular watchers, first off, hey, but also, you know that I personally am a stats girly, right? I want to know how many 1 stars, how many 2, 3, 4, 5, how many books did I read, how many did I think I was going to read, if I had any goals, did I accomplish them? Let's start with stats. Starting with the ratings, the lowest rating I gave was a DNF. I know, very sad. And the highest rating I gave was a 4.5 stars. Very good if I do say so myself. As for ratings as a whole, I gave out 1 4.5, 1 4, 3 3.5s, 3 3s, 1 2.5, 3 2s, and then the DNF. If you're like me and you're really bad at counting, that in total is 13 books. Going into January, because it was the beginning of the new year, I set myself 0 goals. Just read and enjoy myself, you know? So that is exactly what I did. And I read 13 books, therefore I think I enjoyed myself. Moving on to page numbers, the shortest book I read was 64 pages and the longest was 383. Please don't ask me for the average. I can't be bothered to do that math now. Maybe editing me will do it for you. Great. So, starting with January 1st down to January 29th, because that is technically what today is, let's talk about my book. Starting the month off very, very strong, I read The Last List of Mabel Beaumont. If you have not heard about this book, which I don't know if you have, I found it on Kindle Unlimited on a random day, a random Saturday. This book, wow. I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. That is my top book of the month. It's the top book of 2024 so far. And I have 0 complaints. This story follows Mabel in like 10 pages before she loses her husband, and then after her husband passes, she finds one of the last lists that he made, and on it says find D. Her entire story is going through her life and like her reminiscing on the past, and also her finding D, which ends up being the sweetest, the cutest, the most heartfelt, most heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, throwing up, amazing story I have ever read. If you do not follow my Goodreads, it is always linked in the description. However, if you do, you know that the second I finish a book, I make my Goodreads. I write a review for every single book that I read. It could be a sentence, it could be 20, it could be me sobbing and bawling my eyes out. But whatever it is my reaction the second that I finish the book. I remember writing this review, and I know the first sentence is, "Can Mabel please be my grandmother?" And I still stand by that. I would love for Mabel to be my grandmother. She is genuinely the sweetest, the kindest, and the most like unguarded, honest person I've ever read about. She's like 73, 75. I don't know. She's up there, right? She's reaching the end of her life, and she knows that. But she does it with a fucking smile. Okay? I love Mabel. I love her. I genuinely do. My heart, my soul, all of me loves her. I actually recommended this book to my mom, and she said she wasn't going to read it because it sounded sad, which fair enough. But does it help if I tell you that there's queer representation? And that at the end of the day, it is actually a very queer book, a very real queer book. And I didn't know that going in, so I cried multiple times while reading Mabel's story. And I loved it. Moving on from my top read of the month, we have Her Wild Roommate, which is one that I read on my Kindle as well. I gave that one 3 stars. And it's nothing special, okay? I honestly this month read a couple of like very short one-offs on Kindle Unlimited just because I was in the one-off mood, like a short little read. This is one of those. I think it was on like 100 pages or something. No, it's 64 pages. You know, it's 64 book. Yeah, this is where that came from. And like I said, nothing special, nothing great, just a quick little one-off story. I honestly don't even remember what happened. That's all that I have about it. I really can't remember what I read. Moving on, we have Court of Greed and Gold. And if you know me, you know that last December, I was obsessed. Actually, you guys don't know. I didn't read this with you. Okay, back up. First off, First book is Court of Ravens and Ruin. I read that one like last November. Loved it. Ate it up. 4.5 stars. Beautiful fantasy, romantasy, but the romance, the romance is like a slow burn. Like it's a slow burn, and there's a reason why, and it kills me, but it makes sense, and I'm just like, sorry, I'm very passionate about my books. It's a slow burn romantasy. Love it. 4-book series. I'm almost done with it now. But it's just beautiful. So I read the second book in the beginning of January called, what is it called? Court of something. Court of Greed and Gold. And I give it 3 stars. Listen. When I originally finished the book, I gave it 3.5. It has been 3 weeks since I've read that book. I couldn't tell you what happens in it. In my Goodreads review, I did say that it felt like a building block book, like we were just going to keep building onto what we learned in book 2 and book 3, which is exactly what we did. I read book 3 a little while ago. And because of that, I cannot tell you what happens in book 2. I cannot tell you. This is something that happens to me though, that if I'm reading a series and the story just keeps continuing, like without space in between, I can't differentiate between what is in book 1 and book 2 after I read it. Like if I'm reading it and like 10 minutes after, I can tell you what happened, but after that the knowledge is gone, right? It just becomes one book in my brain, and because of that I don't know what to tell you. Would I recommend it? Yes, absolutely. Love the series. Is it the best books I've ever read? No, but it's good. Okay, sometimes there's some things that happen that don't need to happen, and it feels a little bit like, move out of the way, we need to focus on this. Not because of the romance, sometimes because of the romance, often because of the romance, but it's like it's also got a plot, you know? I love the plot. Can't tell you what's happening in the plot. No, I can, but I can't tell you where it's going, but it's like, love it. The next book that we have, still not a physical book, is one that I am honestly really disappointed by, and that is The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. Listen, I know she is one of the most loved thriller writers, especially by TikTok. I know. I can't do it. I can't do it. By the end of January, right? I think in total, I've read 3 or 4 of her books. I haven't liked a single one of them. Don't get me wrong, okay? It might be a me issue. I'm starting to think it might be a me issue, and here's why. I have been reading like more thrillers than normal recently. I don't know why. I don't know where this sudden thriller need has come from, but for whatever reason, when I'm reading thrillers now, I don't get shocked. And I don't know if it's because I'm just like, I like the second something is told to me, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because that's what I think. So the shock isn't there. I'm just like, oh, okay, right? But all the thrillers I've been reading are not rated very high. And I'm so worried that it's because I'm not a thriller girly. Because I used to love thrillers. I read Hidden Pictures last year, gripped to that book. I couldn't put it down. Like, I loved that book. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, did I get a shock factor from that book? I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know anymore. So I'm starting to think the thriller thing is a me issue, but I did rate The Locked Door 2 stars. If you're asking if I would recommend it, if you're a thriller girly, I would. The twist, I didn't see it coming. Okay, I didn't. I just didn't like it. Like, I don't know what my issue is right now, okay? Maybe I'm just not in a thriller mood and my subconscious is trying to tell me to stop. But I'm like, I want the shock factor. I want to solve a mystery. I want to know who it is. And I'm like, it's not working. You know, like, I think it might be me issue. But either way, did not like that one. Moving on, we have the first physical book of the month. And that is this book right here, which is called If This Were a Story. So if you can't tell, I lost the dust jacket. If you're like me and you've been reading for a really long time, I'm sure you also have books you've been carrying around since middle school, and this is one of those books for me. I think I bought this at a Scholastic fair in like 6th grade, and I just now got around to reading it. And that's probably why I DNF'd it. Listen, I know that there are some books, like middle school grade books, that you can read at any time, any point in your life. This is not one of them At least it wasn't for me. This book follows our main character, whose name I can't remember for the life of me, as she navigates getting bullied in school. And there's a couple of other elements in there, like her parents are fighting and stuff like that. And for me personally, I don't want to read that right now. I don't think I'm ever going to read it. So I DNF'd it, and it's going to Half Price Books. Storyline, plotline wise, it wasn't boring, right? It was just kind of mundane. Like, there really wasn't anything happening. But then again, 6th grade book, it's like, what, 200 pages? But I just can't be bothered to sit and read through it. I read 40% of it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good, Don't really want to read about this. And it might be because I was bullied in middle school. That's bringing up like some bad memories or something, but I personally just don't want to read about it, even if it has a happy ending. I'm like, no, thank you. So I moved on, just like we are right now, but our next book is actually quite far down the stack, so give me a second. I really should have put these in order when I put them up here, but that's fine. We then started my wonderful vlog of the month, which was The Naturals. Oh, can I just leave that there? Oh, that's so much more helpful. Sorry. If you don't know what this series is about, it follows a group of kids who are called The Naturals, shocker, and they pretty much work for the FBI because they all have like these special skills. Like, right, Cassie's a profiler, where in her perspective, there's Salone, who's really good with numbers, Aaliyah, who's like a human lie detector, there's Michael, who can read emotions, and Dean, who's also a profiler. But this group of 5 kids, right, they go and they solve cold cases that the FBI gives them. They're saving lives, they're doing the thing. But oh my god, these kids do not listen. They do not listen. And it makes the books so fucking exciting. So good. I genuinely love the characters. The more, it's a 4-book series, and the more that you read in the series, the more you become attached to the characters. At least I did. And the more that you'll love the way they interact. Like, by book 4, I was giggling at the shit they were saying to each other. I'm like, right? Like, I was having the time of my life. I don't know why I've gained an accent, but here we go. Moving on from book series overview, let's talk about our individual book. This one honestly focused a lot more on introducing us to the program, how it worked, where Cassie was living and everything like that. We got a little bit of Cassie backstory and quite a bit of Dean backstory. Like, you get like each of the characters' backstories in different books and everything like that, which I love. I love it. Through this one, we are following a serial killer and we are solving that case, which is very exciting. Did I see it coming? Kinda. I'm not gonna go super into detail because I did make an entire vlog about these books, which will be linked in the description if you're curious. But I kind of went through the list of people, and the person who it was, I kind of guessed them, kind of didn't, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, The Naturals, did I get a 3.5? Yeah, the Naturals got a 3.5 stars from me. I then popped over to my Kindle really quickly and read another one of those one-shot romances called Do You Want Me? This one was by W. Winters. I know she's a very well-loved romance writer, but I think I got in on the wrong foot. This book for me was given a 2 stars. I can tell you exactly what happened because it made no fucking sense, because I didn't know this, but this is like a prologue to an entire series that she had. No one told me. The book thing didn't tell me when I was buying it. Like, I had no freaking idea. I thought it was just like a little baby book, so I didn't understand what was happening. That's probably why it's rated so low. If I ever go back and read this series, I'll probably reread this, but man, I don't know. I don't know what really happened, Anyways, now that that's out of the way, Killer Instinct, we're going back to The Naturals. This book also follows a serial killer, but the twist in the end, beautiful. The second that I realized that it was a serial killer exactly like the first book, I was very hesitant. I'm like, are you kidding me? Copy paste? No, not copy paste. What? This book, very good. Loved it. Did I guess it? No, I didn't guess the big plot twist. This one was really weird, really like strange on how to guess it if you didn't guess the big plot twist. So I don't know. I didn't like personally guess it, but did like the book. Very good. Then for the next week or so, I did stay on my Naturals grind, which is what I'm pulling up now. The next book that I read was All In. Oh boy, did I go all in. This is the 3rd book in the Natural series, if you didn't gather it. Same concept, just a new case. This one was my favorite out of the entire series. In this one, we go to a casino where there's 3 bodies and 3 casinos in 3 days, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a concept I can get behind. This book follows a lot more of patterns and numbers and everything like that, which obviously 3 murders, casinos, days, that makes sense, right? So we get to know Salone so well in this book. And for me personally, Salone is my favorite character, so that book was amazing. This book, that I just killed. That was my favorite book in the entire series. I gave it a 4 stars. That's my second highest rated book of the month. You slayed, girl. Anyways, very much like this. At the end of this book, we got a really big plot twist that I was so ready for in book 4. So ready. So ready, in fact, that I, right now, am going to introduce you to our next read. If you watched my vlog, you know my feelings on this book. Because, oh my God, I despise this book. I cannot stand it. Why did they make the ending like that? My girl Cassie, she needed a win. These kids don't need any more emotional trauma. They didn't need to do that. I also have so many more opinions on this book, especially this book, that I spoke about very uncensoredly in the vlog if you're looking for them. But because this is a wrap up, I'm not going to spoil anything, and it's so far deep in the series that I really can't say much. But I have so many issues with this book. If it wasn't obvious, that book was not very rated very highly. I gave it a 3, so not terrible, but also not great. Then we moved on to the second to last physical book, which is the only one left, by Riley Sager. Listen, my mom and I go to our local library. That's our new thing. This is a library book. And I needed to read it before it needed to be returned, which is literally tomorrow. And she told me I needed to read it, mostly because this was her first 5-star read of 2024. It was not my 5-star read of 2024. I gave this book 2.5 stars. So, so you know how earlier where I said the thriller thing might be a me issue? I don't know if that transfers to this book, but Mr. Riley Sager, the plot twist, I guessed it, like 75 pages in. Not like who, but the who. If you've read the book, you know what I mean. Did I know for sure that that was what the plot twist was? No, I did not. However, I had a pretty good idea. I did go through a couple of other scenarios in my mind, but I kept falling back on the correct one. And listen, I'm not disappointed in this book. Okay, the book gave what it, well, maybe it didn't. Man, I don't know. My feelings on this book are kind of weird. It's also weird. This is my first Riley Sager book I've read, and I like his writing. I really do. But sir, why were there so many plot twists in the last 20 pages? Anyway, I don't really know how I feel about this book. I'm probably gonna pick up Riley Sager again, but I gotta figure out my issues with thrillers first, man. We're almost done, you guys. Are you ready? Here's our second to last book. Yeah. Listen, I mostly picked this one up because if you remember at the beginning of January, we made a January TBR, and this is one of the books on there. We're going to go back to that in a second. And listen, I did not like The Housemaid, the first book in this series, which is probably why this one ended up with the 2 stars. But I just was like, when I first started it, I was real confused. Because I can like vividly remember how the first one ended. Right, the ending is what gave it another like star boost for me. Like I was hyped. Right, what happened? What happened? What they failed to tell me. Well, I didn't read the back of the book. Hold on. I don't think it's on the back of the book. I skimmed it. What they failed to tell me is that we take a huge time skip. And I was really confused for like the first couple chapters because of that. But once I got over the time skip, I was like low-key bored. This thriller was set up very differently from how the other thrillers that I read this month were, and just other thrillers that I read in general. Like, we got, like, I guess the main plot twist in the middle of the book. I'm not even kidding you, the middle of the book. And we kind of, like, went through the second half of the book of, I don't know. I don't know. This book, there's so much I want to talk about, but I can't because the thing happened in the middle of the book, and I'm just like, Well, that's unfortunate. How am I supposed to talk about my feelings on it? You know? I don't know. I have issues with this book. I have issues. Let me introduce you to A Court of Monsters and Malice. If the cover looks familiar, it's because I read the second book earlier this month. And oh my god. This one, for me, ended up with a 3.5, and it's gonna stay that way. I think I did finish it 4 hours ago, so I can't really say much. But, this one kind of felt like a building block book, but it also kind of felt like more of a significant book than book 2. I can say this. There's kind of like these games in book 2. I didn't realize we were carrying it over to book 3. I thought we were done. I thought we were just doing it in the one kingdom and then we were done. That's not what ends up happening. I don't think that's a spoiler. I just maybe I didn't read enough into it. I don't know. I just genuinely was a little bit confused when we started traveling, and I'm like, why are we going there? Oh, we're doing that thing. That thing's so stupid. I was waiting for that to be over. So yeah, there's this whole like other side plot thing that we kind of do, but it doesn't like totally throw us off track. I mean, it does obviously a little bit, but it's not like terrible, you know? In book 3, our romance, pew, my giggling, pew, my love for Roro the owl, pew. I'm genuinely so scared for book 4 because of how book 3 ended. I don't know when I'm gonna read book 4. I think I need to emotionally recover from book 3 first. But I just am very, very excited to see what February holds reading wise. I'm probably gonna finish the series in February. Let's be honest with ourselves. Anyways, I am now doing happy circles because I'm talking about my books. But we reached the end. This is the wrap up, guys. I wrapped up the 13 books for you. No one asks for this. I like doing it because I don't film quite a few of the books that I read. Anyways, I did say we would come back to the topic of my January TBR, so let's do that real quick. I guess I probably should have put this in the stats section of this video, but I didn't think about it until now, so oops, too late. Let's commence. At the beginning of the month, I made a TBR for January of 6 books. Those 6 books included Roxy. What's this one called? The Housemaid's Secret, Court of Monsters and Malice, Court of Greed and Gold, and Court of Secrets and Snakes, Serpents and Secrets, something like that. And then starting House of Leaves. As you can see, not very much of that went on. I did not read Roxy. I did not read A Court of Serpents and whatever the heck. And I did not start House of Leaves. I kind of had full intentions to, like halfway through the month. But then we went to the library and I got really distracted. I'm really good at getting distracted by library books. Like, you only saw one in this stack, but I have like a stack of 10. So I guess I got, what is that? I got 50%. That's actually pretty good. I'm not mad at that. Anyways, we've officially reached the end. Very happy with my books. If you're wondering if I recommend any of them, I mean, I did. So, yay. I never know how to end these videos. These ones are always so bizarre to me because it's like, I just talk about books for like 20, 30 minutes. What now? I don't know how long have I been talking. I can talk for so long about books, bro. Anyway, this one was a little bit unhinged, I'll be honest. I kind of got a little bit carried away after Bad Blood. But, you know, that's what that book does to me. It boils my bad blood. Sorry, I'm still emotionally recovering. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Next week we will go over my February TBR, which is kind of this running trend you'll see as we progress through the months. The last video of the month is going to be the monthly wrap up, and then the first video of the next month will be the TBR because I like doing that for tracking purposes, and I think it's fun to see goals and see what we do and how well and how bad I do at sticking to them. It was wonderful, as always, to talk about the words on pages that I read, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye!